Tattoos have been a form of self-expression for thousands of years. From ancient culture to modern society, people have used tattoos to tell their story, to mark important milestones, and to showcase their identity. But tattoos are more than just body art. They're a form of communication, a visual language that speaks to our emotions and experiences. In this documentary, we'll explore what it takes to develop a unique style and to make it as a tattoo artist. So join us on this journey as we uncover the art and meaning behind tattoos. This is The Style of Ink.
My style was kind of a natural progression, really. I used to be a waxwork sculptor, so I've always had a big interest in faces and human faces in particular. So I think it kind of naturally came from that background, really. I came about opening my own studio kind of really backwards way, actually. It was a friend of a friend of a friend who was sort of looking for someone to work with. But when I got there for the interview, it turns out they wanted a business partner. So me being cocky, me way back then, so I said, yeah, I can do that. I think I've been tattooing for around 3 weeks at that point. So sort of fell into it completely accidentally, but very quickly realised I loved it. Wanted to kind of experience that for myself because I sort of walked into a studio that was already established, so it was something that I hadn't even thought I would ever want to do until I saw it being done wrong. Best part of owning a studio by far is just not having to answer to anyone or do anything anyone else's way. It's a nice thing to kind of have a cool idea and not have to run it by someone and just roll with it. There are a lot of difficulties with running a studio, yeah. Mainly you are trying to organise a group of people who don't naturally like to be organised. Artists aren't really known for their temperament or ability to listen to anyone else or follow any sort of rules or advice. That's probably the most difficult thing. It's just trying to rein in a bunch of different creative minds. My favourite ever tattoo that I've done hands down is Mrs. Doubtfire so far. Childhood hero. The first tattoo I did was unfortunately on myself. It was on my own ankle. I don't recommend it. The best advice I could give someone who wants to start in the industry is make yourself a blank canvas. Don't try and learn anything to impress a mentor. A mentor more than likely will want to start you off at the very beginning their way. It's a very quick way of picking up bad habits the more you try and learn on your own. Just draw, try all different styles, have a great stack. It's better to have fewer amazing drawings than a big old bunch of nothing. Just take a few select great drawings and persevere. Your mentor will find you if it's meant to be. If I was going to go back and do it all again, I would. It's been quite a journey over this 14 years, and a lot of people coming and going from the studio, and I've learnt a lot of lessons really. And I think one thing I would definitely do is listen to people a little bit more. Kind of throwing myself back to what I said earlier about artists in general, not really listening to feedback. I would listen to people a little bit more, take on board other people's creative input, not just try and do things my own way all the time. And maybe it would have led to a little bit of a more harmonious studio atmosphere, but I think if you go back and change things, you wouldn't end up where you are now, and I'm happy where I am now.
That's great.
Someone snizzes behind it. You just get a feel like there's one in the over. Yeah.
I mean, you could do it, isn't it?
Mate, I could. You try.
Yeah, started tattooing about 4 years ago. Started in a little place in town. Didn't know anything. A friend of mine was just like, oh, I know a fella, go and speak to him. Because I was working in bars and I was like, this isn't what I want to do. I want to be in like doing something creative, always been creative. So I went and spoke to this guy. He's like, oh, well, I've got my son of mine starting up a place, like go and have a look in there and see how it was. So I started there and kind of got to know the basics before moving on from there after about a year. My actual first client was my missus. She was the only person willing to kind of like give me skin. Still didn't really know what I was doing. I'd only just started my first studio. And yeah, I just kind of wung it. Like, it turned out nice. It was a little rose on her ankle, and it still looks good today. But yeah, I was shitting it, and she was brave enough to sit there and do it. My style, it's changed. I wouldn't say it's changed too much since I started 4 years ago, but I keep tweaking and changing things, like learning new skills. But I'd say it's more like gritty, edgy. Prefer hard lines than any soft lines, and as much as like most people would probably say like tattooing's all about clean lines, I like to do like what look like that they aren't clean, like scratchy, and more dark, like things like, I don't know, bones, dark themed tattoos, anything creepy a little bit. I'd say that's about it. My favourite tattoo that I've done, and if I don't say it, like I said, she'll kill me, is my missus. My missus back piece is my favourite one. And I'm not lying when I say that, like it is my favourite. I feel like it's my best one I've ever done. I put about 18 hours into it, and to say it's a full back piece, I don't know, some might say that's not enough time, or like it might be too much time, but it was a competition winner as well. I went to TATCon for the first time last year and entered that into it, and the amount of time I took and effort, I know it sounds daft because you should put effort into every tattoo, which I do, but like I was like, I gotta like zone in. I was so focused, headphones on, whilst this busy crowd of people in TATCon just working away, and it looks beautiful, full back piece, like 2 snakes, florals. But besides that, yeah, I couldn't really think of any other tattoos. There's loads that I love doing, but that one's definitely top tier. TATCon was amazing. Like, I'd been wanting to do conventions since I started, and obviously, like, young tattoo me was like, yeah, TATCon, let's go to convention, but it's quite intimidating. You definitely need to be at a specific level. Like, you can be apprentice. I think apprentice category, if you're entering a competition, entering the apprentice category at TATCon, it ranges between like starting out to 4 years, but you need a little bit of knowledge behind yourself. But yeah, I entered women's composition because it was on my missus' back, and I felt like the way it was composed on her back was really nice, and it complemented her figure. And it was terrifying, exciting, fun, stressful. I spent too much money on buying equipment, lighting, carry cases, everything. I went overboard. I think I was like number one buyer on Amazon that week, but it was good. It's very noisy with the entertainment going on. You definitely need to have like some headphones on, focusing on it. I was just gutted I didn't get to go around the place, because obviously you go there for the weekend, you're tattooing, you're entering competitions, then you can have a drink of an evening, go and see the other artists and do all that. But TATCon was an experience, and definitely recommend it to an artist of, I don't know, say like you've been tattooing for a couple of years, definitely go for it, mate. Like if even if you're entering an apprentice category or whatever, but definitely pick the right category. I think last minute I was going to enter into black and grey, large black and grey, but black and grey also covers like realism, and my style doesn't hold up against a realism, I don't think. But like each their own, you can't really compare the two. And yeah, I remember being stood there watching her up on stage while all the judges were like looking at her back, thinking like, come on. And yeah, when I called my name up as the winner, I was just like, I didn't even know it. My missus was bouncing off the walls. She's like, come on. I'm like nervous to even go up and collect it. And yeah, first convention, first prize in the category, and now I'm terrified of entering any other competition in case I don't win anything. But yeah, TechCon was an experience. Definitely recommend it to anybody. What advice would I give somebody looking to start tattooing? This is, we could sit here for a while with this one. Just take your time with it. Like, I'm still learning now, 4 years in. Different skins, different techniques, different machines, different needles. I remember starting out and I was like, looking online on like tattoo suppliers and like, what do I buy? Like, what needles are right? There's hundreds of them. But yeah, advice, and a good portfolio, an apprenticeship, and don't go do it at home or at house parties or something like that, man. Just do it legit. Like, if you want to be self-teach, but don't start winging out tattoos left, right, and centre when you don't know what you're doing.